If you want cheap Microsoft points and game codes, check out g2a.com. Link is in the description below.
Hey guys, it's Melvin7 here, and today I'm bringing you my BPL predictions match day 29 versus the Mystery C. Now the score's 69 to me, 95 to the Mystery C, but I'm not arsed, I'm just going to get straight into this. So, in game 1, well technically it's not even a BPL game, but I thought I'd go over it. It's the Capital One Cup final between Spurs and Chelsea. This is going to be a very interesting game. Obviously Matic is unavailable, he's got that ban for that reaction against Barnes challenge, and yeah, he's serving a 2-match ban, so he's not going to be there. Spurs do look pretty good at the minute. Like, I know they lost in Europe 2-0 to Fiorentina, but I think Pochettino rested Harry Kane and Christian Eriksen, if I'm right. So yeah, they're going to be well up for this. Chelsea are as well, on the other hand, though. Obviously, both teams are really going to want some silverware. So for me, I think it's going to end 2-2 all the way to penalties. And I'm going to predict a surprise. I'm going to say Spurs are going to win on penalties, but I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-2 draw. Now, me and the Mystery C are going to actually do this as though it's a BPL game, so we'll get points for it. But since I've said it's going to penalties, I said 2-2, so it doesn't really matter who wins. But I'm going to say Spurs will win on penalties. A little bit of a surprise, as most people are saying Chelsea. Anyway, next we've got West Ham versus Crystal Palace, the actual first game of the BPL this week. Now, West Ham drew 2-2 with Spurs, and were unfortunate not to win. Spurs doing what they do best this season, getting the late goals like we did in the Ferguson era. Maybe not as well, but, you know, they might get there eventually. But anyway, Palace lost 2-1 to Arsenal. Very, very unlucky for Palace. They just had no finishing, like no finishers whatsoever. So it's going to be a very interesting game. Both teams look as though, well, they're sorted, to be honest, in terms of BPL. Obviously, they're different positions in the league, but I'm going to say West Ham are going to win this. No, actually, screw it. I'm going to say a draw. Alright, and I'm probably going to kick myself because I was going to say 2-1 West Ham, but I'm going to say 1-1. Generally because Palace, I think, will get the early goal, and I think they'll just hold on. Anyway, in the next game, we've got Burnley up against Swansea. Now, Burnley, very good draw against Chelsea. They were obviously very fortunate for Barnes not to be sent off, but you know, they got a draw. At the end of the day, they got a draw against Chelsea, and although there was a lot of debatable penalty decisions, etc., it's still a point at Stamford Bridge, which not many can achieve. So, very good result there for Burnley. Swansea, on the other hand, very good result against us. So, yeah, the 2-1 win, they didn't really outplay us, but they got the result in the end. They won 2-1. So, it's going to be a very interesting game, and again, I think it's going to be very, very close. But for me, Swansea have that little bit extra, that little bit of spark. They seem to have found a balance after Bumi has left. So, I'm going to say 2-1 to Swansea. In the next game, we've got my team, Manchester United, up against Sunderland. Now, ironically, we had one of our best performances of the season against Swansea, yet we lost. Alright, but I want to see us use this system, basically. The back foot, right, this is the lineup. David De Gea, Luke Shaw, Rojo, I'd have Smalling, and then I'd have Raphael, because Raphael didn't play in the under-21s, as he's been, you know, he's usually been doing that to get his fitness back. But since he hasn't played, I reckon he's going to play in the first team instead of the under-21s. Then I'm going to have Herrera and Blind as CDMs, or holding midfielders. Obviously, Blind sits a bit deeper than Ander Herrera. Then have Young, Di Maria on the wings, Mata in the number 10 with Rooney up front. RVP's injured, Wilson's iffy, he's not injured, but he's not going to start, I don't think. So yeah, that is what I would do. And to be honest, if we do that, Sunderland have been really, really poor recently, and they drew 0-0 with West Brom. They seem to be getting a lot of 0-0s. So for me, all we need to do is get an early goal, exploit it, and, you know, use wing play, and we'll batter these. So for me, I'm going to say 4-0, and if we do not win comfortably, I'm going to be so pissed off. Sunderland are 16th in the league. We need to pick ourselves up, and we need to get some momentum going for the big games ahead. So anyway, next game is Newcastle up against Aston Villa. Now, Newcastle got absolutely obliterated. They got fingered. I don't even have to say anymore. Yeah, they got battered 5-0. Right? I'm sure Newcastle fans are very pissed about it because their team just deflated 30 seconds in. Anita gives away a penalty. From then on, there was no other result. City were just going to batter them. And on the other hand, you've got Aston Villa, who seem to have turned a corner. Well, they did. And then, of course, they lost against Stoke. So, you know, I think it's Tim Sherwood is trying to get the best out of Villa, and it's going to take a while, but Newcastle's probably a good place to go at the minute because John Carver just seems useless. He just seems useless. Doesn't have a clue what's going to happen. I know it's at St James's, but for me, I think this is going to be a very dull game, and I'm going to say 0-0. In the next game, we've got Stoke up against Hull. Stoke obviously beat Villa 2-1, and Hull beat QPR 2-1. Very important results for both teams, particularly Hull, because they're obviously fighting relegation more than Stoke are. So yeah, very, very interesting game, and I think it's going to be evenly matched again. So I can't remember how many draws I'm going to predict this episode, but that didn't make any sense. I don't know how many draws I will predict in this episode, but it'll be a fair few. And Stoke 1-1, I'm going to say, so there's another draw. Anyway, next game we've got West Brom up against Southampton. West Brom 0-0 draw against Sunderland. Should have won that, but didn't. Very dull game all in all. Southampton, on the other hand, lost 2-0 to Liverpool. Very unlucky. It deserved to be a draw in my opinion. That's not me being biased. That's a general opinion. They were unlucky with their penalty shouts, a bit like Chelsea were against Burnley. So, you know, referees were absolutely horrendous on the weekend. They have been all season, in fairness. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game now. Southampton really are lacking goals, and that's due to Pellet. He just can't score at the minute. And since they've only really got one out-and-out striker, that is affecting them. West Brom will exploit this, in my opinion. It's going to be a very, very entertaining game. But for me, I think it's going to be a draw. Like, that might surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to say 2-2. Just for the general fact that West Brom are at home and they look clinical. They do look clinical when they get their chances. Southampton, on the other hand, I reckon they will score, even though I've just kind of contradicted myself. But I reckon it's going to be an entertaining game, and I'm going to say 2-2. In the next game, we got the biggest game of the weekend. Liverpool up against Man City. Personally, if I had to pick a team I wanted to win, it would be Manchester City, just for the fact that they are ahead of us. They're like, what, 8 points ahead, and Liverpool are right behind us, 2 points behind us. So definitely City would be my choice to win. Ideally a draw, and that's what I'm going to predict, because Liverpool piss poor in Europe, knocked out against Besiktas. Man City piss poor against Barcelona, coming off a 5-0 win against Newcastle to lose 2-1 to Barcelona. It should have been 3, but of course Messi screwed up his penalty. And yeah, Liverpool obviously did get a nice win before that against Southampton, but again they were lucky to win. So for me, it's going to be two teams who are going to go for it. Entertaining game again. I'm going to see 2-2. Another draw. Unbelievable how many draws I'm seeing this episode. And in the last game, we've got Arsenal going up against Everton. Now, Arsenal, I don't have to say this to fans, they were utterly ridiculous against Monaco. Let's just face it. 3-1. Coming on the back of a lucky-ish 2-1 victory against Crystal Palace. So they're not in the greatest form at the minute. None of the top 4 sides are, well, apart from Liverpool, but even they lost in Europe. So, you know, any of the top teams chasing top 4 can easily lose or win at the minute. And Everton, on the other hand, very nice result against Young Boys, the only European team to actually win this week, or this Champions League and Europa week. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing for the BPL. But they drew 2-2 with Leicester. They threw the game away, and I reckon they're going to get, they want to get some revenge. Although Arsenal usually come back as soon as they lose, play badly, they come back and they get a result. This time I don't think it's going to happen. I think Everton are going to finally climb up the table a bit, and I reckon it's going to be a draw. Another draw. I think near enough every single result I've predicted to be a draw this week. So it'll be a miracle if I get these. But anyway, I'm going to say, whoa, another 2-2. Fuck it, I'm going to say so many 2-2s this week. Let me know what you think, and I'll compare my predictions against the Mystery C's now.
Alright, so the results side by side. He thinks that Chelsea are going to win. Obviously, he's a Chelsea fan, so he's desperately hoping that they do, so they can get some silverware this season, even though they're probably going to get more than that with the BPL. But anyway, I obviously say 2-2 with that. West Ham, he believes will beat Crystal Palace 3-1, whereas I say 1-1. Burnley, Swansea, he thinks it's going to be a draw. One of the only games I haven't said will be a draw. I think Swansea will win. Man United, he thinks we'll scrape by 1-0. I really hope we don't. I really hope we put in a great performance, and we do get that 4-0 like I've predicted. Anyway, Newcastle versus Villa, he thinks Newcastle are going to score 3 and Villa are going to score 1, 3-1, whereas I say a boring 0-0. Stoke Hull, both say 1-1, so, you know, quite possible, I suppose. Well, that obviously doesn't make it more possible, but you know what I mean. We both got the same thing. Anyway, West Brom versus Southampton. He thinks Southampton will win 2-1, whereas I say 2-2. Liverpool City, we both say 2-2, high scoring draw. And Arsenal Everton, I say 2-2 yet again for the fourth game, whereas he thinks Arsenal will whitewash and walk over Everton 3-0. So yeah, let me know what your predictions are, let me know what you think of mine. Subscribe if you're new, like the video, and yeah, peace.